What is our second main topic today?
This is from Anonymous Meatball. Hi, John. I noticed in the last Moon Knight promo that the on-screen text says, on March 30th, the 6th episode event arrives on Disney+. And in other marketing material, the verbiage is, experience the 6th episode event, streaming March 30th, only on Disney+. To me, this almost sounds like they're saying that all 6 episodes will drop at the same time by calling all 6 of them a single event. What do you think? Could this be the first time Disney Plus releases a brand new Marvel show all at once?
All right, thanks for saying that in, man. And you know what? It's funny that you wrote that, because I remember when I saw the verbiage for that, the 6th episode event, number one, massive disappointment again. It's just 6 episodes. Let's get back to real television, shall we? Shall we get back to real television, like with real seasons? Anyway, the 6th episode event drops. But it did sound like they were almost saying singularly. And I will admit that thought crossed my mind as well. And you are not alone, because I've gotten at least half a dozen emails from people saying, are they dropping Moon Knight all at once? Are we going to be able to binge Moon Knight all at the same time? And it's understandable when you look at the way they marketed that, because you got to think about it. Now, look, Disney so far with Disney Plus has taken the better, wiser, smarter approach of releasing it week by week. Now, for bingers like myself and some of you guys, we may personally like being able to say, oh, it's on, and then just sit there and rifle through every single episode at once. I get that, because I am one of those people. But there's been no denying, we have seen example after example after example that has proved that when you have a good show and you release it week after week, it is much better for your show. The word of mouth spreads, it stays in the pop cultural conversation for longer periods of time. Your ratings start to climb and go through the roof. And Disney has shown that with their series pretty much every time. But Disney Plus, I should say, is also a relatively new service. The idea that they would want to experiment with other formats and approaches is not only within the realm of possibility, but probably to be expected. If you are wise, you will try things with your content and your material and your product to see if you get a different reaction or a better reaction from different segments of your viewership. And so it is not ludicrous to think that although Disney has been doing the smarter thing of releasing it week after week, that they may at some point say, you know what, we at least have to experiment with this. And maybe Moon Knight is that thing. But it's not. They are releasing Moon Knight week after week, as has been their very tried and true successful thing. Like any other show of Marvel on Disney Plus since WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, and Hawkeye would be releasing its episodes weekly, where there would be an interval of a week before the next run arrives. Should you prefer to watch it all at once, you would have to wait for all the episodes to be released before being able to do so. So, I mean, yeah, it just comes down to the fact that this has worked. This is what they're doing. Now, I'm going to tell you guys this, though. I still don't think it would be the worst idea for Disney to experiment with it sometime. To try doing it where we take a season of something, even specifically if it's like a short little thing, like 6 episodes, and just drop it all at once and just see how the audience responds to it. I think we know how they will. The proof is already there, but they haven't experimented with it yet, and it might be good to do so. Rob, you, more than anybody I know, are really excited about Moon Knight.
I am.
It looks like they are going to be doing this week after week, but do you think a show like Moon Knight with just 6 episodes maybe could have been one they could have experimented with dropping all at once?
It sounds like they could have. I mean, for me, I just watch every episode 6 times, so I get a 6-hour event every week. But I think that this is the kind of show. You know, I think that Hawkeye, like WandaVision, was great having it every week.
Yeah,
the anticipation was great. I was excited. I think Hawkeye would have worked better if we could have binged the whole thing all at once.
I agree with that.
You know, I mean, there wasn't enough different stuff going on. It felt to me like, well, we have to figure out a way to end this episode so they would end in the middle of a scene or something. And I felt like it wasn't designed to be that way.
Yeah.
And I think some of these Marvel shows, I mean, I think we have to make them series, but sometimes they feel like they're a movie that's been hacked up. Mm-hmm. At least I felt that way with Hawkeye. I don't know how Moon Knight's going to go, But if it is truly globetrotting and there's multiple locations and they're going to different places, it makes sense that it's a series. But like with Hawkeye, it was like in the same neighborhood. So it was like, let's go see the Ren Fair dudes in the park, and now we're gonna go to the someone's apartment. It didn't have the kind of scope that lent itself. Whereas you could say, well, WandaVision, Rob, took place in a small town, but they had whole different eras of sitcoms. So there was and then in that fourth episode, you got out of that town and you're suddenly with Sword and you're figuring out all this other stuff. So every episode became wildly different or giving you new information. So I can't tell you whether it should be a binge thing yet, John, but I agree with you. I think one day they should try and give us a series that we can binge. I don't know if they'll do that, but...
Well, I'll say this about the Hawkeye thing. I mean, I think you're right. I think Hawkeye would have been a better viewing experience watching it all at once. But it doesn't change the fact that it is better for the show to still release 1 week at a time. So, I mean, and that's the thing. I think there have been a couple of series, actually, that I think might have played a little bit better had we been able to sit down and just watch them all the way through.
I think Loki could have been one of those, too.
I absolutely think Loki could have been one of those. But again, it doesn't change the fact that it was better for the show to be released week after week and stuff like that. Anyway, Chris... we're approaching a show like Moon Knight. These series seem to be getting shorter and shorter. But do you think this is something that they at some point could do by dropping all things at once and seeing how it plays? Do you think there's advantages to that? And do you think that a Moon Knight could have been a show like that?
I think Moon Knight could have been, and I think they could do this in the future. But one of the things we always talk about on here, though, right, is you binge something, and then are we talking about it 2 days later? Do we really continue speaking about this? And if it's a great show, yeah, we do. If there's something amazing that we all binged, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to get through this. And certain shows do lend themselves to a binge more. I'm waiting out a Servant because I like binging that show, And I know that's a very different show than the Disney Plus option.
No, but I agree with you.
Yeah, and Hawkeye too, I do feel it felt kind of like a movie that got sliced up, right? I'm hoping, though, because this is such an intricate character, that we need these episodes. We need this space in between to really think about the things they're portraying here and really have some time to marinate episode to episode about what's all going on with Mark, Steven, however we're feeling in that episode.
I also think, too, that it would help creatives understand, because they don't release numbers about these things. But if like if you're developing a show that is going to get binged as opposed to something that's going to be watched on a weekly basis, I think the writing of the show would change. In terms of if that all the episodes are going to drop at once, how you conceive those episodes, like on a Netflix show, from episode to episode, you can be like, okay, these people are good. And once they're all available, it doesn't really matter. But when they first come out, maybe it will affect the way people write the shows.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I think that Hawkeye, I don't know why, but that was the first time I ever felt the show really needed to be bingeable. I really felt that Hawkeye, I found the ending of every episode sort of obtrusive. Like, this doesn't seem like you're ending in the middle of a scene, or it just didn't feel right.
And sometimes it just feels like the executives not knowing what they want to do with the show too, because this is something we see in animation a lot, which is a whole other issue in itself. We'll have season 1A, right, and then 1B comes into play because it's we'll keep going with this, keep going, tell me more story, figure it out right now. Okay, well, how are you plotting that story around those kinds of constraints then? Okay, well, you gave me one season, so I contained it, and now I've got more to do. Okay, now what do I do? And I'm also still getting the same pay rate as one season? Oh, okay. But I feel like that's something that Disney, going into the writer's room, they do need to have those conversations of how is this media going to be consumed so that it's a better viewing experience.
Yep.
But I just think it's they pretty much already know how their medium's going to be consumed, right? Because you bring up the great point there, Chris. The problem is that these shows that are dropped all at once, they come out, 72 hours later, nobody's talking about them anymore.
Right. Kaiser Soze.
That's right.
Everybody freaks out and goes, oh, wow, wow, wow. And then 48 hours later, the party's over and nobody talks about it. Whereas, how long were we talking about WandaVision?
Oh, my gosh.
Months.
Still.
I mean, still to this day, we were.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is about WandaVision.
And Hawkeye was way more successful than it had any business being, because I don't even think watching that back-to-back saves that show. But, I mean, the viewership kept going up every week. The viewership went up. So it's going to be hard for them to break out of that mold, but it would be something worth experimenting with. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this whole thing? Do you think Disney Plus at some point could or should experiment with dropping their things all at once? Maybe make for a better viewing experience for a one-time shot. But then again, I think us hardcore bingers, I think we're a minority. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, ExpressVPN. Now, guys, does it make sense that the same company who controls half the online retail also passively eavesdrops on your private conversations at home? Or what about the idea that a single company controls 90% of the internet searches, runs your email service, and gets to track everything you do on your smartphone? You guys know that big tech is more powerful than most countries are, and they profit by exploiting your personal data. It's time to put a layer of protection between your online activity and these tech juggernauts, and that's why I use ExpressVPN. You see, when you run ExpressVPN on your device, the software hides your IP address, something that big tech companies can use to personally identify you. So ExpressVPN makes your activity harder to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your internet data to keep you safe from hackers and eavesdroppers on your network. So stop handing over your personal data to the big tech monopoly that mines your activity and sells your information. Protect yourself with a VPN that I trust to keep me safe online. Visit expressvpn.com/Campea. That's expressvpn.com/Campea to get 3 extra months free. Go to expressvpn.com/Campea right now to learn more.